then out of the blue comes a report on foreign missions, particularly in China. It's called Rethinking Missions, or the Layman's Committee. This was a 7-volume report studying world missions with support from the Institute for Social and Religious Research and 7 major denominational boards, including the Presbyterian Church. It was a 15-member commission that surveyed missions beyond China, India, Burma, Japan, and China. Its editor was William Ernest Hocking, a Harvard professor of philosophy. And he was the one who wrote the report. It's sometimes referred to as the Hocking Report. When was the last time a professor of philosophy wrote a report for a church body, even if it was a 7-member denominational committee? The president, in addition to Hocking, the president of the University of Chicago was the vice president of this commission. The president of Brown University was also one of the members of the committee. So again, this was elite American society. This was the Protestant establishment that was behind this report. It received major funding from the Rockefeller wealth. So this was a really big deal in a way, coming from these bastions of elite society in the United States. And here's some of their finding. What they found was that missions really needed to change because of the situation in the world and the relationship of Christianity to other religions. Part of the report said, in respect to its theology and ethics, Christianity has many doctrines in common with other religions, yet no other religion has the same group of doctrines. It would be difficult to point out any one general principle which could surely be found nowhere else. But there is no need. It is a humiliating mistake for Christianity to contest priority or uniqueness in regard to these general ideas. As we were saying, there is no property here. What is true belongs in its nature to the human mind everywhere. From this treasury of thought, however, so Christianity shares all these ideas in common with all other beliefs, all other people, because of these general truths that liberal Protestants think that they can derive from Christianity. But this treasury of thought, from this, Christianity proffers a selection which is unique. The principle of selection is its own peculiar character. Its individuality lies in the way in which it assembles and proportions these truths and lends to them clarity, certainty, exemplification, and therefore power. So Christianity gives a unique spin to all these general ideas, and that's its distinctness, as it were. But the aim of missions, then, is basically to cooperate with other religions in the world to make the world a better place. The way they do that is the language of the kingdom of God expanding around the world. And this is what missionaries are called to do. There's an explicit part. But the aim of missions, then, is basically to cooperate with other religions in the world to make the world a better place. The way they do that is the language of the kingdom of God expanding around the world. And this is what missionaries are called to do. There's explicit parts of the report, which is available online. You can download it as a PDF, which say that the old motive for missions of saving people from hell and judgment is gone. We don't believe in that anymore. That's not the work of missions. The work of missions is one of cooperation and lifting other boats up to the Western standard. It's another. Which say that the old motive for missions of saving people from hell and judgment is gone. We don't believe in that anymore. That's not the work of missions. The work of missions is one of cooperation and lifting other boats up to the Western standard. That's what happened. Conservatives were alarmed. Machen wrote against it. He drafted an overture to ask for reforms of to ask for the Presbyterian Board of Foreign Missions to respond correctly to it. And at the overture presented to the Presbytery of New Brunswick in 1933, he actually had a showdown, as it were, with Robert Spear. Robert Spear was the president or secretary, I guess it's secretary, of that Board of Foreign Missions, well-regarded figure in mainline Protestantism, very popular, I guess charismatic figure, and he was sort of Mr. Foreign Missions for the first third of the 20th century in Protestant, not just Presbyterian, but Protestant circles. A really big deal. So to get him to show up was quite something, but basically he didn't really engage with Machen's charges against the Board of Foreign Missions. The Board of Foreign Missions was only implicated in the report. They weren't responsible for it. They had representatives on the committee. So again, they were implicated, but it wasn't, you could sort of do a bob and weave, a duck and jive, and sort of say, no, we weren't truly responsible for this. Spear also thought it was unfair for Machen to read the report in as critical a way as he did, and to see the worst in it, especially, and to attribute that to the Board of Missions, rather than for the Missions Committee to reassure people that, no, we still believe in the gospel we proclaim and confess in the Bible and the confession of faith. So it's a frustrating time. The Presbytery of Philadelphia, even though the overture that Machen wrote failed at the Presbytery of New Brunswick, the Presbytery of Philadelphia picks it up and does send it to the General Assembly of 1933. And there you actually have some debate over the overture, because the committee to which it went, there was a majority report and a minority report. And once you get that on the floor, it's possible perhaps to get people to change their minds, even though it was only 2 out of maybe 15 on the study committee that issued the minority report. But still, maybe there was a possibility that on the floor the minority report could prevail. It did not, though. And that led in 1933 to the founding of the the Independent Board for Presbyterian Foreign Missions. And this was the line in the sand over which Machen could not cross. This really was the last straw for Machen, because there was overwhelming conviction from the outset that once the independent board was started, that Machen had broken the law of the church. Lewis Mudge, who was the stated clerk of the General Assembly, said that the independent board subverted Presbyterian law by undertaking administrative functions within the church without official authorization. And Mudge counseled the Baltimore Presbytery to inform Westminster Seminary graduates that they would not be licensed or ordained unless they gave a written pledge that they would support the official agencies of the church as part of their pledge of loyalty. So you see the beginning of not only a ruling that this is unlawful, but you'd also see the beginning of demand for loyalty pledges, especially for graduates of Westminster, but also for others. Which, if you think about liberalism featuring tolerance and broad-mindedness, you see some tension here between that posture and this of requiring pledges of loyalty to the church and its agencies. The New Brunswick Presbytery also adopted a resolution that all ministerial candidates be examined on their willingness to support the regularly authorized boards and agencies of the Presbyterian Church USA, particularly the Board of Foreign Missions.